Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our newest webinar from Rock, Paper, Scissors. And today we're going to talk about Rock, Paper, Scissors' top 10 favorite things about Google Analytics. And I will be honest, I absolutely love this tool. And there are other tools out there, but this one's great because it's free and it lets you do a lot of things. And I talk to clients about this all the time, and they ask me all these kinds of questions. And I felt like it was finally time that we actually just broadcast this to everybody so that you can actually hear what I tell everybody else, and then we can kind of dig a little deeper if you want as you have questions. And a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. At the end, we will take questions, so feel free to post them on Google Hangout or tweet to us directly. And we'll cover those at the end. And if you think of something afterwards, email us. We'll, of course, go through it, or post it on the YouTube or Google Hangout, and we'll get back to those questions. This is a very deep topic, and we are only going to touch the surface of it. So I want to give you a chance to be able to get what you need from this because it is pretty impressive. So, all right, just to do a little background for those of you who don't know who we are and are new to this webinar and just found us, I am Amanda Sutt, and I am the creative director at Rock, Paper, Scissors. We have been in business for 30 years this year, so we have seen a lot of change, and we've done a lot of changing ourselves to keep up with the times. We are a branding and web development firm, and we focus on our clients' brands, which is not just a logo and marketing collateral, but the entire experience, which in today's world includes this fabulous digital world as well. So anything from your website to social media to email marketing and more. And to make sure we're doing a good job, we need things like Google Analytics. All right, so let's start with some basics before we get into this. What is Google Analytics? And is a free service that is offered by Google, there's a base one, and then there's paid options as well. And so what you do is you, through your Google account, it'll generate a code that you then embed on your website, and Google tracks everything that happens on your website, who's coming there, what devices, how long they're staying, what they're doing next, and it generates reports that you can dig into and really start to explore. And so it's a fantastic tool for us, and Google needs that information as well so that they provide better information for their users as well. So they basically let us see what they're already using. All right. So the next thing that's very important is, why is Google Analytics, or what does it have to do with branding? And why is that even important? I don't just want to make a brand that is this pretty picture out there. I want to make something that resonates with people. And Google Analytics gives us that chance to see what's really happening so that we can make better choices. Our last webinar, we just talked about the difference between branding and marketing. And this kind of dives into it. As you develop a brand that is a reflection of who you are, and then you create marketing to connect with your audience. And Google Analytics tells us that who you are is actually connecting with your audience. And if it isn't, how do we need to start making adjustments? So that's really important for us to start to have a little bit of a snapshot into this, because it hasn't been around that long. And before, with all of your marketing efforts, you would put a campaign out there and you would get inquiries and you would get sales. But the challenge is, a lot happens between those inquiries and sales that you don't get to see. And now we do. So if you do a campaign and you drive somebody to your website, we can see what's happening. And so that's what becomes really important. And so that's why we use Google Analytics when we're talking about branding, because we want to see what's happening, and we can now. All right, so enough background. Let's get into our top 10 favorite things. So understand, there's so much in Google Analytics, and I could probably talk about this for days, but we're going to start with some of our favorite things, which is a great way for you to get started. And this should be enough information, if you've never used it before, to be able to get some insights on how to use it, how to even look at it, because it is big, and it is deep. And these items will at least give you a chance to say, okay, start here, and then really have fun with it and explore, because that's what I like to do with it. So first up, favorite thing, number one is the compare feature. And this comes down to data is a great thing, but if you don't have data to compare to what you're looking at, it doesn't mean anything. It has to have some relevancy. And so Google has a built-in feature that you can compare to whatever period you want. But typically, whenever I look at a new website or I'm checking out a client's website, I do two things. I first go in and do a comparison from the last 30 days to the previous 30 days. So a month, like basically if I'm in April, I'm comparing April to March. And so that's just saying, what happened over the last 30 days that changed. So I have a little screenshot up here. So we're looking at somebody who had a 30% increase this month over last month. So that's great. But that might not be telling us a lot because most businesses have cycles in their annual season. So, this one shows that March, April was busier, but that could be leading into their busy season, and it's normal for February to be slower. So in addition to doing a month-to-month comparison, I always also do a year-to-year comparison. So I look at the same last 30 days this year compared to last year. So that's telling me that we're in the same cycle of a selling pattern and says, are we getting more traffic to the website? So that's great. So this compare you can do throughout the entire platform of Google Analytics. I usually just start with the initial overview. So it's showing me that there are, in this case, 33% more sessions. So basically 30%, 32% more people or not necessarily users, but there are actually having experiences with the website. Same thing with the users. It's consistent there. We have 32% more users coming to the website this month over last month. Page views, same thing. They're looking at even that many more pages. So that's really consistent, and that's normal for those to be the same. Pages per session hasn't changed. 0.09% isn't much of anything, and that's fine. Obviously didn't do a big campaign with a big increase or any new efforts. So that being consistent is good. Session duration dropping a little, that's fine as well. It means that the last 2 months, when people come to the site, they're on the site for the same amount of period. Bounce rate has dropped a little, and that's a nice healthy bounce rate right there. And then percentage of new sessions, so that's people who are coming to the site for the first time. So it basically shows us a side-by-side from last month to this month or last year to this year on each one of those items, because each one tells us a different story. How many people are coming to the site? How many times are they coming to the site? How many pages? So it's giving us a little bit of insight into it, and because we can compare data, it's telling us, are we improving or do we need to do something to improve? All right, number 2. There's an annotation feature built into Google Analytics. And I don't know if you've ever used it and you go and look at your history and you see this huge spike and you're like, great, what was it? And you can't remember what you did or what might have caused it. It actually allows you to go in and create these little tags on dates that basically says, hey, we launched a campaign or we posted an email, so that you can see what it is. One, so you can remember a year ago what you did, and then 2, so you can recreate it. If sending out a certain type of campaign is doing really well for you and you're seeing that result consistently on your analytics, keep doing it. If you did this huge campaign and you did not get a spike, stop doing it. That kind of stuff. But go ahead and put those notes in there so that you remember, because I will tell you, you will not. You will forget it. So it's just a nice little tool that's been added into that. All right. Number 3, location. So this is when you get to feel a little bit like a stalker and see where your audience is. And it's not a bad thing. Understand the way that this works is Google Analytics is tracking the IP address of the user. So we can't see who it is, but we can tell that it was a computer in a certain area. We don't know the user. We don't know what their name is. So there's no confidentiality issues that we're dealing with, but it does give us a chance to see where people are coming from, which can be really important if you're a big national product. Like some of the screenshots I have here, it shows you that they're getting traffic from across the country. if you're a local product and you really only want to see and deal with people in your local area, and you go look at this and you're getting national coverage, it gives you a chance to say, hey, wait a second, what are we doing that might be wasting some of our marketing energy that's broadcasting too far? How do we kind of start to narrow in our digital efforts? But what I've just put some small screenshots in here to show you, we can look at the world and see what parts of the world are coming to your website. The darker the blue, the more people are going there. We drill down to go into the country and the states, so we get to see, what states are most popular in this case. Went ahead and drilled down into California here. And these dots represent how many people are coming from each area to look at the website. So you're starting to see some specific patterns. And then it actually does a breakdown of cities of how many people, in this case, are coming from San Francisco and Los Angeles and San Diego. So you can see if that's appropriate. Are they, if you have a big consumer product and you want to hit the metropolitan areas, this is a great breakdown. It says you're doing what you need to do. So it gives some good insights into that. All right, number 4. And number 4 is probably the one that most people don't know about. And I love it when we're doing either a refresh on a website or an audit on a website or a new website altogether, because this gives us a chance to see if what we had in mind for users and their user experience is actually what they're doing. So let me explain this graphic a little bit more. And it is interactive when you're on Google Analytics. But what it's telling us is the first column with all the white bars is what country people are coming from. And then it tells us in this next column, what is their starting page. So it's telling us for this instance that 38,000 people are starting on the home page. That's what that little forward slash says. And then I have another 4,000 starting on a secondary page and 3,000 on another one. So it's telling me where people are entering the website. So that's good to know. If we're running some campaigns that are going straight to landing pages, I want to make sure those landing pages is where people are entering. Then it tells us right next to it, you'll see the blue channels and then the red drop off. So that red is telling me how many people leave the site. So from that home page, I'm getting a drop off of probably about maybe a 15 to 20% come to the home page and just leave. The rest of it, which is great, are going on to additional pages. And what it's showing me is where do they go next? And then it tells me where do they go next. And it'll keep going and drilling this down as deep as you want to go. So it's telling me how they interact with the site. So user flow is saying, if I wanted people to go from the home page to this product page, and that's how I designed it, and then I get to test it and say, hey, they're actually doing that, or no, they're not. Why aren't they doing that? Do we need to have more specific call to actions and that kind of stuff? So it gives us a lot of really great insights into what's going on that specific page. All right, the next level of this, which I think is another great tool, is the in-page analytics. So basically what it does is it gives us a heat map of a web page to say, where are people clicking the most? And so it's ranked basically, if it's red, it gets clicked more. It actually gives you some percentage bubbles, then yellow, green, and then blue is least. So do we want more people to be going to, in this instance, we have a lot of people going to parts, and that's great. This client really wants a lot of people to go to parts. So we're getting some higher interactions there. Are they using the navigation the way we want to? Yes, they're consistently clicking on the navigation. No, navigation is not being clicked. Are they scrolling down? Are they seeing things? So this really starts to show us what's happening on each page, and it will generate this graphic for every page of your website so that you can see what's actually happening. So that is a really great tool to say, yes, my design is working, or no, why aren't they looking at this, and starting to work on the balance of the user experience. All right, number 6, acquisitions. This is a great tool when we're looking at marketing because it's showing us how people are coming to the website. So there can be some more categories depending on what's actually going on with your site, but this is a pretty basic breakdown that you'll see on most people's Google Analytics will look like this. We're seeing that In this instance, 64% of users are going to are coming to the site through an organic search, which means that they're going to Google, they're going to Yahoo, they're going to Bing, and they're typing in some type of term that is either the name of the business or a keyword, and they're coming up in results, and they're clicking on that um, to get to the website. That's good. That means in this case, I would want to, of course, dive deeper, and you can see actually how people are, what keywords they're searching. So literally everything on Google Analytics is a link. So if I went down to #1 organic search, if I clicked on that, it would tell me how they're doing that. So that's giving me some good insights that a lot of people are finding them through search engines. The next one, #2, is referrals. So that means that there is a link on somebody else's website that is directing users to your website. So this is telling us who is basically giving you the most referral traffic. So we can see it. You can, if you have a great partner who's sending you tons of traffic and converting lots of leads for you, that's when you send them a gift basket or take them out to dinner, that kind of thing. But the idea is that you're actually getting to see specifically which one of your partners is generating leads. All right, #3 is direct. That means somebody is literally typing in www.yourdomain.com, and they're going straight to your page. They might have you as a bookmark. They might type it in each time, but you get a chance to see how many people are doing that. And then the fourth one is social. And this client is not doing a ton of social media right now, but this will give you a breakdown of how much of your web traffic is coming from different social platforms. There's also an email one as well. So if you're doing a lot of ongoing marketing, Google will start to tell you they're coming from Facebook, they're coming from Pinterest, so that you can see how that traffic is coming into your website. All right. Next up, #7, devices. This is getting more and more important. Um, the more people are dependent on their um, many mobile devices, their phones or their tablets. And this is starting to tell us a little bit more about what your user's life is like. And also, when do you need to invest in a mobile or a responsive website? If you start to see that a majority of your users are on desktop and barely anybody's on mobile, it might not be worth investing in it and you can keep the website you have. But if all of a sudden that mobile use starts creeping up and you're not mobile friendly, that's the time to really start to sit down and go, okay, we should start looking at making sure our website's mobile friendly. Most new websites out there that developers are developing, us included, they're going to be responsive, they're going to be mobile ready, so you don't have to worry about it as much. This is more dealing with people who've had websites for a while and making that choice of when do you invest in it. And you're going to get a point of diminished returns if you have more and more mobile and tablet users who are having to stretch your site bigger to be able to read it, or it doesn't have mobile friendly or finger friendly buttons, and it's more complicated for them to use your site. They're going to go find somebody else's site. So this first part tells us desktop, mobile, and tablet breakdown, which is great to see. And we kind of look at mobile and tablet in the same category. There's definitely some different design strategies you take with it, but that's really important. And then it'll go a little bit deeper and it actually tells you what type of devices your users are using. So you might have, and this gives some great psychographic information. And for those of you who don't know what that is, we have demographic information, which is your typical, age, race, household income, those kind of stats. Psychographic information is actually telling us about the lifestyle of our client. And that's what this starts to tell us. In this case, a lot of people are using iPhones. So that tells us a little bit more about what the specific user experience is like. They value things that are simple and easy to use. Whereas you might have a product where maybe all of it comes up as Android, and that might tell you some other different things and insights about that product. So it gives you some insights into your customer's life as well. So there's some neat little things we can extrapolate from just the device breakdown. All right, Number 8. This is a new feature that, well, relatively new, that's been added into Google Analytics. I used to always have to run this separately, but it's really great that it's actually built into the site itself, and that's site speed. So it will give you a breakdown of your, not only your speed of your site for desktop and mobile, but also gives you your user experience, and it shows you a list of things that you should fix. So a lot of times, and I pulled this one on purpose, is we'll go ahead and do a site for a client that's more desktop because that's what their clients need and they're not doing a lot of mobile. So we're not going to spend as much time optimizing mobile. But as that mobile starts to come up, I'm going to flip into this and see the speed on mobile is good. That's great. But the user experience, there's some things that we want to correct. And as that user base starts to grow, we go, all right, let's invest in that. Let's go in and fix some things on this. So it's really great that Google will give you a breakdown of how well your site is ranking in regards to speed and user experience. And so they're measuring that across all websites out there, and it's right there built right into Google Analytics. All right, we're getting to the end. Number 9. This one is fantastic, mainly for the fact that we are all very busy people and you have to remember to go check out your Google Analytics. So how do you do this in a way that you're consistently looking at what's going on? And that's through using their email report feature in there. So all you have to do is go in and activate this feature. It'll send you an email. You can forward it to as many people. You can change the format you get it in. You get it as CSV, you get it as a PDF, you can get them weekly, you can get them monthly. You do usually have to give yourself a note in there, just part of one of their default features. But then you get a reminder in your inbox on a regular basis. And the whole idea is this is take this and then go, oh yeah, I should go check out our Google Analytics. If you want to go dig deeper, or just look at the report and go, okay, this looks good. I will, or we're not going to change any action. I think we're in good shape. But this is a great way just to make sure you're staying on top of it, because it's really easy when you're running your business to forget about, oh yeah, I should be seeing if anything's gone wrong with our website. All right, our number 10. Now this, I will go ahead and confess, is not actually in Google Analytics specifically. It is a partner tool. But I want to share this with you because it's really important when we're talking about SEO and optimization of your site. So I've thrown it in here as kind of an alternative. And this was formerly called Google Webmaster Tools. So they've recently renamed this, and it's just another feature you activate using the same login information that you've already used for your Google Analytics. And so things that make this great is because it does make your SEO efforts much easier. First off, you can submit your sitemap to search engines straight from this interface, which is great. So you can tell Google, hey, index my sitemap, take a look at this. You're pushing it through so that the search engines are looking at it. It's not something you need to do often, but it's much easier because you can do it straight through here. It also, this is the thing that we love, tells you if you have errors on your site, especially ones that are affecting your search engine. So if pages are coming up as errors, it'll give us a complete inventory of what's going wrong with your site so we can go look at it. So if all of a sudden your site speed drops off, we go, okay, let's go look in the Google Search Console and see what's going on with the site. Or we launch a site and all of a sudden it's not performing as well as we want it to. We're going to go in here and see what it is. And in addition to that, it does also include a step-by-step walkthrough to make your website as Google-friendly as possible. So they're basically giving you as much information as they can to help you have a better experience and a better website for your clients. So it's a really great tool to use. It can be a little cumbersome if you're not familiar with this. This is something that my development team uses on a really consistent basis to troubleshoot stuff. So if you're not really comfortable with back-end websites or any of that, that's fine. Tell your web developer to walk you through it or have them look at it themselves. But just want you to know that that's a tool out there that if your site isn't doing what you need it to, this is a great way to be able to make improvements and have a place to start, and which seems to be one of the bigger challenges. All right, that is it for us. So I want to take some questions. As I said, if you guys have any, please post them to us. We already had been collecting some earlier on, so I am going to start with those. All right. Um, First up, I had a question of what is Google Analytics Premium? There's a couple other tools out there, and there's Premium and then 360 Suite, some of the new ones I've looked at. These are really built with larger organizations in mind. And so they're not necessarily, if you're a smaller business, it's not something you need to look at. If you are going to start doing a lot of data mining, this is, Google Analytics on steroids basically. And those are some paid services, but they're going to give you more information, and you're going to be able to export and marry it up with some other information. So it's big and it's deep. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you guys now. So if you're really curious about it, let's set up a time and we can dive into it and see if it's appropriate for you. But it's really more for big groups. All right, here's another one. I'm pretty bad with technology, but I do run a personal blog. Would Google Analytics help me, or is it better for techies and business owners? It's a great question. If you have a blog, Google Analytics is fantastic. Even if it's for personal use. Now, if you're just using your blog as this is how you vent and you don't really want anybody to read it, no, you don't need to do it. But if you're building a blog that you actually want people to read, yes, you do want to use it, because it's going to start to tell you what content is resonating. Because if you start this certain, category type and nobody's reading it, well, don't take your time to read that or write that. Go ahead and spend time on what's working. Or better yet, how do you market that better and start promoting it? And so it gives you insights into what's actually going on with that content. All right. Final question, unless a couple others come through, is do you offer Google Analytics training or coaching? I see it as valuable, but as a business owner, I don't have the time to learn it all, playing around with features myself. Yes, I do. I do this all the time. I do offer training and coaching on it. I think it's really important for every business owner, no matter how busy you are, to understand what it is, even if you only look at it once a year. It is your business. Now, if you have a CTO or a marketing director, you can offload it on them. But I think it's also really important for you to understand what they're telling you. Because it is part of your business, and if it's not doing right, how do you um, help them get in the right, do you find somebody maybe you have somebody who isn't qualified, not telling you what they need to. You still are responsible for your business, and this is part of it. So just having some ideas of what technology is. You cannot run a business today without having some grasp of it. So it's important that you're investing in that in an ongoing fashion. So no, you don't need to know it all, but even if you just understood these top 10 things well enough to ask some good questions, you'll be in great shape. So, all right, that is all we have today, but I want to let you guys know up next, we are hosting in 2 weeks our first seminar of the year, and we're actually going to dig deeper. So if you were interested by this and you have even more specific questions, we're hosting an event at our office on April 28th, and we usually start these about 5:30, and we do some networking. So you get a chance to meet some of our clients and talk to some other business owners, talk to us, talk to our creative team, and then at 6:30 we sit down and we actually go through this in much more detail. Now, because this is our office, seats are limited, so we will be sending out a follow-up email, and we'll also post this on Google Plus and on Twitter and on the YouTube page. So if you guys want to sign up for it. It is always a good time. If you want, bring your laptop, bring your analytics, bring lots of questions. I will be doing basically a group training for this session, and it is always an open forum, so that you can find out how this is really affecting your business, and get deep on it. And I'll have a couple other team members here as well to answer questions. So it'll be fun. So I look forward to seeing you all then, and at our next webinar coming up in May. Thanks, guys.